call the meeting to order. Yeah, this is Tuesday, June 24th, and it's our regular council meeting. The vision of the Village of Valemount is striving for a vibrant and balanced community. And it's our mission to serve the community and embrace opportunity even when they're late. Sorry, that was just totally ad-libbing. You're like 30 seconds late, no worries, please. Okay. If we didn't care about you so much, we wouldn't have, yeah. So first order of business is to adopt the agenda, and there are no additions. Just one second, I'll just speak to you for a second. Yeah, because it's opportunity going there. Great, okay, so motion to adopt. Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Great. Adoption of the previous minutes?
One correction.
Sure.
For the Valemount Community Forest Board Director appointments, Resolution 227, just the correct spelling for Ainsley Jackman. It should be A-I-N-S-L-I-E.
Perfect, thank you. That's great, good catch. Okay, any other additions, deletions to the minutes? Or okay. Councillor Salt, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Great. Minutes adopted. No delegations tonight. No unfinished business. There's some correspondence for action. There's a very interesting proposal here from the Valemount Learning Center and New Horizons, or a New Horizons grant. Let's get first and second reading on this, and we'll discuss it. Councillor Latimer, Councillor Salt. Okay, discussion. What do you guys think?
Super awesome.
Yeah.
I can hardly wait to join that program.
So just in brief, it's basically the Valemount Learning Center is applying for a funding program to really engage seniors in the community and get seniors engaged with youth and get them out really doing things where they're able to. But it's ingenious. If you look at like a trip to the ancient forest, you could be in a wheelchair and you can go to the ancient forest. Like that's how well built it is. So this is awesome.
Also like the one plan where they're talking about courses taught by the seniors to the community, such as like cooking classes or how to prepare fresh food, do canning, and like I think that's awesome. So it sounds like a really interesting program, and I think we have enough seniors here that would probably really like to partake in it. So.
Okay, right on. So there you go. The recommendation that we've already seconded was that we approve the Valemount Learning Center's request for a letter of support. Great, so all in favor? Excellent. Okay. Item 6.2, Royal Canadian Legion. This doesn't have a recommendation with it, but I remember what we did last time was basically there's an opportunity to gain some profile in a Legion type magazine. And last year we were kind of in a pickle around it. I think, not that we need to do what we did last year, but we thought, wouldn't it be better to make a donation to the local Legion rather than spend advertising? It's not like we don't want our name out there or anything, but it just seems like it is quite a bit of money, and the Legion does such great work.
Didn't last year doing Tourism Valemount?
We referred it to Tourism Valemount.
Great, thank you. Let's do that. Do you want to make that motion?
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Salt? You guys, thank you. Okay. Great, all in favor? Good, dealt with. These guys are awesome. Okay, from the reading file, anybody want to pick anything up? There is one I would like to. Sort of three items that blend together.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
2, 3, and 4. And if I was really, really diligent when I was reviewing the agenda, I would have got those pushed together, but they work fine on their own.
So number 4 does fall in with 2 and 3 as well?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. And do we have somebody appointed? Is it yourself? Have we?
Yeah.
Have we
okay. Well, let me give a little brief here. I'll just let everybody know what we're talking about. The Columbia River Treaty, we're coming into a state, a time where within 10 years, Canada and the US can give notice to renegotiate the treaty. Either partner in this treaty. The treaty affects us because it has a lot to do with the levels of Kinbasket Reservoir, and the management of Kinbasket Reservoir has a direct implication on our village, for sure. And the reservoirs are managed by BC Hydro, and the idea is, because the treaty could be renegotiated at any time in the future from now on, or from September on, it'd be good to have people, I'm totally paraphrasing, but I was a part of the process from the beginning of this. It'd be good to have people in the community who had a sense of what the treaty was, what's been important to us historically, to stay on top of making sure that BC Hydro makes good decisions in terms of management. The idea is to try to have some influence with BC Hydro, but right in the terms of reference it says, be realistic with your expectations about what can happen. I.e., if we want to, one summer we want to go down to the hot springs, we don't call it BC Hydro and say, hey, let the water out. We're going down to the hot springs or something like that. So, but it is important, and I think we need to give a good consideration about who, so we need to appoint somebody to this committee, and I think it'd be really good to help to level out the load. So we should think about who would be good. Do you have any considerations, Councillor Salt? Including appointments from council. It's a pretty hefty one.
Yeah.
Has anyone shown any interest in this area?
There are a number of people, there are a couple people who are quite involved in the treaty. I don't want to say any names because one of them's in the room. And the other is Bill Crisselbrink. So Owen Torgerson, Bill Crisselbrink.
Yeah. Does it have to be an
Talk about what the
elected
commitment is.
official? Can it be a general member of the community, or does it have to be an elected official?
No, it doesn't need to be an elected official,
Okay.
but it should be an appointment made by the village.
Yeah.
So they would be in a semi-formal capacity. So what we'll need to do is, what's the best way of handling this? Because I think we need to at least let the people we would consider have a really good look at the terms of reference.
Absolutely. Do you know?
And have a
Should we bring
choice.
this onto an action item for the next council
I
meeting?
think so. I'd like to get a bit more of a handle on it and then bring
Yeah.
it forward with the staff report with some options and a way forward.
I didn't see anywhere a deadline that appointment has to be made by.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I also didn't find that either.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that way too, I can wrap my head around it a bit too, if we don't find other citizens that are interested in stepping up.
Okay, great. So that's good. We'll flag that one, and what we'll do is we'll have that brought to the next council agenda. Or actually, I don't believe it's very timely. I think it's just something we need to do well. So maybe we can even put it on the calendar a little bit later for it and give us some time to do some work on it. Recruitment is no small thing. So coming next meeting with a recommendation for who's going to launch into this thing is probably not realistic.
Oh, I do see something here in the first letter from the Minister of Energy and Mines. We hope to receive the names and contact information for those who will be representing basin local governments on the committee by June 27th.
Well, let's temper their expectations.
Wow. That'd be the end of this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Well, I have a continuing role to play on the Columbia River Treaty Local Government Committee as I see it. So that's enough of a commitment for them right now, and we'll just take some time and we'll get it done in our own time.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh.
Yeah.
And it actually does say, though, if that's not possible, we certainly can help local government representatives join in progress once committee members are identified. So there we go.
Right on. Excellent.
Could I make perhaps one suggestion?
Yeah.
Maybe I should follow up by the end of the week to them with the contact information of one elected official who will be there, and then say that we'll be following up shortly with potentially other members of the public who also would be participating. And then that way, we're at least getting somebody on the contact list right from the get-go.
Yeah. It's also, I noted from the terms of reference, there's multiple ways into this. One is we appoint one person as of the village, and then the broader committee fields applicants as well. People need to live in the basin, but beyond that, there's not a lot of...
But it does say there's only one person
one
from Valemount.
per village, but they look for a wide set of experience or whatever, and I'm sure we've got talented folks who would be a catch either way. Yeah. Interesting. I knew that was coming. I probably should have prepared a little bit more for that and let you guys know we needed to find somebody. At any rate, that's where that stands for now. Any other things that we want to bring up in the reading file?
I just want to comment on the venture camlips. It's kind of nice to see that it hasn't just gone wayward, that they still are working on that labor market study, so.
Helping us with the updates as
Yeah.
partners. Yeah, it's great.
That was it for me.
Okay. Motion to receipt. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt, all in favor of receipt? Great. Moving on to administrator reports. We have a report for the Climate Resilience Workshop Summary Report. Yeah. Councillor Blanchette, and Councillor Latimer, and yeah, it's to approve this. All in favor? Great. There's some proposed changes to building requirements. This is an interesting piece. The staff recommendation is that council approve the Village of Valemount response to UBCM of concerns regarding the proposed building code and community charter changes to eliminate local government concurrent authority in the area of building requirements, unless an inclusivity to ultra-efficient technology, materials, and building styles be incorporated into the building code. I really appreciate that Anne took the time to craft this. We had a conversation about this. Right now, Valemount does not alter the building code at all. An example of one, I think, Mr. Hutchins brought to my attention was in Kelowna. In their building code, they put no more cedar shake roofing, shingles, just because of the wildfire situation there. The other thing is, in the building code, if we just take on the province's building code, so the idea is that we cede all authority to the province. That's interesting for liability terms, that's really good. But for leading edge stuff, that is like a passive house or other stuff that's on the curve that's not yet recognized. I guess it depends how quickly the province can respond to those things. Yeah, anyways. Does this recommendation make sense?
Well, my one question though is, so if we're asking that it includes this ultra-efficient technology, materials, and building styles be incorporated into the building code, then that's something that people will mandatorily have to meet?
No, it's just that we would be, so I guess the position is, we'd be happy to have the province be the sole authority regarding building requirements if they also allowed for these pieces, right?
So it's to allow it, but not to force it.
Yeah, not that, no.
Because some, I mean, not that I don't support those, it's just some of those things are very cost prohibitive for some people if they're looking at buildings. So I just don't want to discourage.
I disagree. I think energy in a town with no natural gas, we could save people a ton of money by requiring them to build a certain way. And they never want to do it and they'd hate us for doing it, but we would save them tons of cash. But anyways, it's cost prohibitive in the front.
In the front.
But anyways, things have progressed so far that actually Some banks will give higher mortgages than they regularly would based on the savings in energy payments. Because they look like, yeah, can you afford a $400,000 home? Probably not, but but you can afford a $300,000 home and afford to heat it. You can afford a $400,000 home, so very political piece. Okay, good. So is there agreement on this? But this is not enforcing anything. It's just the idea of making sure that the problems can keep up. So that's a concern we could put forward to UBCM. Okay. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt. All in favor? Great. Item 8.3. Two pieces of property, 1220 and to 1234 on 7th Ave, remedial action. So there's a recommendation from council that, actually, are you prepared to set this up?
I'm gonna actually turn it to the Corporate Services clerk, Carly.
Excellent.
To set it up, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor.
So these are adjoining lots on 7th Avenue. We've had previous letters sent to them in the last 2 years, but because we didn't have our remedial action set up, it just really went nowhere. So we have contacted the owner and let her know that we will bring it forth to council. It's an extreme fire hazard, falling hazards as well. So we have contacted the property owner, and if we're given the resolution, then there's a 30-day time limit, and then the village will go in and take care of it. Get rid of the hazard.
And to build on that, this is the same process, just a little bit delayed that we've been following in your completion for 202 Ash with the 237 trees that have been identified to come down on that property. And so now this is the second property that we've identified for remedial action for beetle kill.
Okay, fair enough. Right on. So I'll read out the recommendation. That council authorizes staff to deliver a notice to the property owner, as listed in BC assessment, via registered mail, which states that all beetle kill hazards, as indicated by bylaw enforcement officer Dean Schneider, must be removed from 1220, 1234 7th Avenue no later than July 24th, 2014. Should action not be taken by the property owner by July 24th, 2014, council authorizes staff to proceed with remedial action with regards to the beetle kill hazard 1220 to 1234 7th Avenue at the expense of the property owner as per section 77 and 78 of the community charter. Yeah. So Latimer, Councillor Salt, any discussion? Good safety, yeah. All in favor? Great.
We finally have tools in place to enforce these things, so.
Yeah, for sure. 1234 3rd Avenue, remedial action. This is section 8.4. This is similar. Did you want to set it up? Just any differences from this one?
It's a hazard, a fire hazard, only because there's a pit on the lot, and there's evidence that people are actually putting their waste in there and lighting it on fire. So it's an issue, clearly, if people are using that lot for those purposes. So we can pursue remedial action for a pit in their yard.
Yeah.
So we will. Yeah.
It's a really interesting opportunity to note that the community charter only gives remedial action tools for certain hazards within a community, open pits and hazard trees being two of the about four in there. But there's lots of types of things that aren't identified. So for example, trees that may not be pine, that are beetle kill, but they're not within the striking distance of a roadway or a home wouldn't be considered a hazard. So on properties that are big enough, those hazard trees wouldn't fall under remedial action. But in this case, the pit, like a hazard tree next to a property line, does.
Anyways, I was out to the property. It is indeed a very big, deep pit. So, yeah. So that's good. I mean, that's great. And we'll give notice to these good folks, and if they want to, they can get right on top of that. And, there's still time for them. got 30 days. So I'm going to read out the recommendation just because that seems like it's the right thing to do. That we authorize staff to deliver a notice to the property owner as listed in BC assessment via registered mail, which states that all hazards, as indicated by the bylaw enforcement officer Dean Schneider, must be removed no later than July 24th, 2014. Should action not be taken by that date, council authorizes staff to proceed with remedial action with regards to the hazard at the expense of the property owner as per section 77 and 78 of the community charter. Councillor Salt, Councillor Latimer, all in favor? Okay, CBT CIP Legion application adjustment. It's an interesting file. Can any staffers set this up for us?
Absolutely. When the CBT Adjudication Committee was going through its deliberations, we had a spreadsheet on the big screen.
Do you mind speaking up?
Yeah.
Just, I notice it is a public.
I apologize, I'm talking quietly tonight. So when the CBT Adjudication Committee was doing its deliberations on the big screen, and we were doing the math for the various projects, the Legion project had about 5 or 6 things involved. It had, the big one was the electrical, it had the dormer construction, it had the hot water tank, it had the ice maker, and a couple other things. 4 things were approved: the hot water tank, the ice maker, the dormer construction, and the electrical. But when we added up the costs in the spreadsheet for those 4 items, we neglected to include the cost of the dormer. And so when the application came forward to council from the CBT Adjudication Committee, it was missing $2,260. And the problem went to council, or it went to council approved, and the problem was not identified until the to the Legion went to spend their money. They go, oh my gosh, we don't have enough. And so they approached the village a couple weeks ago and they said, is there any way that you can go back to council and get these funds released for us? And so we went to the adjudication committee first. Councillor Sol and the 6 other committee members voted via email. It was unanimous that there was just an error, a mathematical error made, and that the money should be released. But following due process, it also needs to be approved by council to release these funds.
No problem. So the clarification that I was looking for is that we're not usurping the adjudicants, that we're respecting what they desired. I think that's an important point because we don't want to open a can of worms around that, but I see it as just an oversight. So that's one thing. So does anybody want to move the recommendation? Yeah. Okay. Councillor Latimer. All in favor? Okay, zoning bylaw amendment application at 1110 Main Street. Let's take a look at this one and maybe we'll get, if we have the appropriate staff here.
Yeah, if it's okay with you, Your Worship, I'd like to actually ask Cam Bell to stand up and speak to this. He was responsible for doing the research and writing the report.
Okay, excellent, yeah. I just have a technical question for our camera operator. Have you got a mic for him? Have you got a mic on camera?
I do not, Your Worship.
If, can we just have him to have a seat right here? And
That would be great,
yeah.
thank you.
Mayor and Council, the applicant would like to build a hostel on this property on Main Street, and the current zoning in that area does not allow commercial accommodations. There are a number of options that Council could consider in order to allow a hostel to operate on that property. The applicant wants it to be added as a site-specific use within that zone. Staff recommends not allowing that to go forward because it would set a precedent and because it could allow that property to be used for other accommodations in the future. But if council does want to allow a hostel to operate on that property, a temporary use permit could be considered, and that would allow the village the opportunity to determine whether or not commercial accommodations are appropriate within the Main Street special planning area. It does have a special designation within the official community plan, so there are certain uses that are accepted in that area or intended to be promoted. Commercial accommodations are not currently listed, but there are other existing commercial accommodations in the Main Street special planning area. So a hostel could be a great addition to that street with the train stop right there and the mountain bike park underway. So if council wants to allow that to happen, there are 4 options outlined in the staff report that would allow that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Bell. Councillor Salt?
I have a question. Has the option of a temporary use permit been presented to the applicant, and are they receptive to it?
Do you want me to speak to that?
Yes, please.
The applicant was presented when the application came forward. We went through actually 7 options. The rezoning going ahead as site-specific or across C6, changing it to C4, temporary use permit referring to the APC, asking for more information or denying all right. And he was warned right from the beginning that, you know, this is a big change both for the Main Street area, but also for that zone. It might be a good opportunity to test the waters through a TUP. I did note that I would encourage council to waive the fees of temporary use permit applications so that he wouldn't have to reapply with another $450. If council denied the rezoning application, we would allow him for basically no charge to reapply for the TUP because it's the same cost, and that we would then consider it at its merits at that time. And so he was warned right from the get-go.
Okay. Well, I think from my perspective, a temporary use permit really helps us vet out any issues potentially with that new use.
It allows also for a public hearing, correct? TUP?
Is the process, yeah?
All rezoning, both the rezoning and the TUP require public hearings, letters to be sent out to surrounding neighbors, and advertisements in the paper. From a public engagement standpoint, they're very similar. And that's a great question because I suspect that people nearby are going to have opinions both for and against.
And it has to be a 3-year temporary use permit?
No, it doesn't. Up to 3 years.
Up to
That's a
3
great
years?
point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, council, what are your thoughts? And we'll just keep Mr. Bell here just for any further questions. I think it is a big change in that zone. To me, I think I really appreciate the report and the work that's gone into this. I also appreciate the gesture of rolling the rezoning application, the fees there towards a TUP. That pretty considerate.
Has he got a business plan or any kind of documentation?
I've heard pieces of it verbally, and I've had numerous meetings with Richard. But it's not really my place to ask for anything in paper. I really, and Cam has just looked at it from a land use perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really the lens that we put on this, is land use. Does that use make sense there? So we try to abstract ourselves from, you know, the situation on Main Street or any of the neighbors, like in other things, and just, you know, do good governance based on what the use is there. A really nice thing that I've seen with temporary use permit in the past is when unintentional gaffes or conflicts of use meet up against each other, there's a way to plan. Sometimes when rezoning happens and somebody has rezoned a property, there's a sort of a sense of entitlement that sort of goes through, and sometimes it's a little bit like having a bulldozer next door. A TUP would help provide an incentive for the applicant to get along, mesh with the adjoining neighbors, and and also give a fair shot at seeing whether that use works there.
I'd be interested to know if the applicant was going to become a part of the Canadian Hostel Association, because there's policies and procedures that need to be followed when you open up a hostel. So that would kind of be one of my questions to him.
Okay.
That's a good point.
It's like an accommodation industry standard that there is for the hostel.
It's good to know, though.
I didn't realize an association existed, and the applicant has not mentioned it to me previously.
Something to look into.
Okay. Great.
I think that would be part of a part of his business plan then, to move forward. So if we could have maybe an answer to that.
I guess from a staff perspective, would you see that answer needing to come before council made a decision on the rezoning this application at hand, or if, for example, you went with the staff recommendation, could the applicant at that time, as part of a TUP application, be encouraged to provide that additional information?
For the final decision?
So it's beginning an application process, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
So there's some vetting that goes on. So,
And actually, that's a great point. If council did deny this and go to TUP, it would have to come to council 2 more times plus a public hearing. The initial application would come to council for consideration, at which point we could ask for that information to be brought forward, then there'd be the public hearing, and then it would come to council again for final approval.
it'd also be good to have a, just sort of a deeper, I think the temporary use permit will give us a chance to look at that site in particular. So it's very good in that instance. But it's good to separate out the various roles that we have, the one being the land use planning piece, which I think this report has really nailed. It gives us the information that we need about what's the appropriate, what gives us flexibility going forward, and it's sort of a responsible look at land use there.
And with any new project, we need to be flexible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd certainly rather see that building being occupied and used for a business, another business, and tell them to be sitting empty. But we need to do our due diligence and make sure we address all the concerns.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I should just say now, I'm going to, okay, right. So I see that the recommendation here is quite simple. Is to deny the site-specific zoning amendment for 1110 Main and encourage the applicant to apply for a temporary use permit. I think that's a really excellent, reasonable course of action. I also really want to just say in advance of moving that I appreciate the flexibility of the applicant. And hopefully this will be seen as a positive thing, that we can still be flexible, move forward and find common solutions, and it's not a shutdown. Doing a rezoning has a lot of repercussions, so I hope you'll have patience with this decision and see it through. So I'm going to move the recommendation. I got a seconder, Councillor Blanchette. All in favor? Great.
And
Really good report, Ken.
Councillor Latimer, I'll make sure that he speaks to the Canadian Hospital Association if he chooses to bring forward the TP.
Or one of the, there's quite a few. I know that there's one in BC as well.
Okay.
So that he's got to have some sort of a plan in order to operate.
Very good. It would be interesting to just get, sort of get a sense of, if somebody was opening a restaurant or whatever, they have to navigate through Northern Health, right?
Right.
So a hostel probably be more something like our building inspector, right? We need to say, okay, if you're gonna open a hostel, you need to meet these requirements. So it'd be just interesting to know a little bit about that process, if we even know what that is. That'd be good, good armor for the next stage. Great. Next item on the agenda is 9.1, the Economic Development Officer Report for the month of May 2014. I'll move receipt. Councillor Latimer. All in favor? Great. The Building Inspector Report on page 89. Okay, Councillor Blanchette.
I'll second it.
Councillor Latimer, all in favor of receipt? The Bylaw Officer Report. That's nice to see, Councillor Latimer? Councillor Blanchette? All in favor? Any comments on that? No. Keep your head down. Well, the fur's flying, but boy, is it good. I'm going to put that out there. It is so nice that for folks in town who've been bothered by dogs, who have dogs running down the street and everything else, that there's a little bit of tension there. To me, I'm not sure if this is fair or not, but have you guys noticed a difference in the number of dogs that are loose on the street?
I have in my area.
Yeah. Okay. Because I won't beat that one to death, we'll just move along here in the agenda. Financial report, accounts payable report for the month of May 2013. Month of May 2014. Councillor Latimer? Councillor Blanchette? All in favor? Great. Director of Finance Progress Report. Okay. Councillor Salt, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor. Last year's Sophie Report, 2013. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Salt. This is a big 40-page report. It's a financial requirement. It really spills the guts on what we do financially as a village. So if somebody's interested, it's a good place to look. All in favor of the report? Great. 2013 annual report. I couldn't believe this is only one page. But you know, Cole's notes version. No, it's actually 47 pages. It's good. Actually, it's pretty brief, pretty to the point, but there's a lot of stuff going on last year. It's really nice to see it all in one place. The one comment I'll have is the message from the CIO is on like the second last page. So that's something that we need to change for next year, but whatever. We'll vet that when we see it. But in the meantime, I think we should approve the annual report as presented. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Latimer. Comment? Yeah.
Yeah, there is just one little, there's a couple little glitches, but where it's talking about, I don't know what page we're on here. Talking about the airport, but it's east of town. It's northwest of town.
The other airport.
Yeah, I think we're referring to the old one here.
Okay, fair enough. Do you know what page that's on? If you can provide a piece to
staff.
Yeah, just a slip there.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. So I think that's fair. We'll just put that as a friendly amendment because it's basically, yeah, good. All in favor? Excellent. Okay, we go to council reports. And we'll just mention, or we're just receiving this for information purposes, but there's a travel report from Councillor Blanchette, and I still need to do mine.
Me too.
Have you done yours? Yeah. We're bankrolling this town. There's a lot of, we got to get those in. That was for the NCLGA conference in Fort St. John.
Good job.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for enumerating the things that you did there. It's really good. It's a part of sort of being accountable is when we go in these conferences, we write back what it is that we've done. So, but do you want to start the council reports?
Okay, so there I have my council report there. And I had 2 meetings scheduled this week and they both got canceled. However, I was in the Sports Day Parade, which was fantastic. The new committee did a fantastic job. Congratulations to all of them and all of their volunteers, because I know how much hard work it is. It was a very successful weekend. And I just wanted to remind everybody about Sunday at Centennial Park, the Valemount Walks Around the World. We're having our anniversary party. It's potluck, it's prizes, games, 11 to 1 in Centennial Park.
So you don't have to be one of the walkers?
You must be one of the walkers, but if you choose to join us, you may come and I will get you set up with a package. Yes. There we go.
Okay.
I'll go next. I too was in the parade, which was tons and tons and tons of fun. I mean, I think that was the most fun we've had in a while. And
It's because you were speeding, driving in front of the police.
yeah, it was all good. And then I attended the affordable housing little meeting that we had last week or so, which was very interesting to have all the different proponents sitting around the table and talk about what we really needed. And so it's going to be interesting to see where that goes on the affordable housing. And it was very eye-opening for sure. And also Varda we had our regular meeting and going ahead with the Clemina Cabin. And July 23rd at 7 o'clock, there's a meeting at the Varda office, a general meeting. So all members are invited to attend. And that's it.
When did you say the general meeting?
July 23rd,
July 20.
7 p.m. So if you're a member of ARDA, there's going to be some voting happening.
Cool.
I too had a blast because I was riding with Councillor Latimer in the parade and had a lot of fun. I only hit her a couple times with candies, I think, as I was tossing. And then later in the day, I shared a shift with Mayor McCracken in the concession. We were just a hop, and I'm yelling out orders to him. I'm taking cash and getting drinks and everything for people. But boy, that time flew, and really busy. And I think everyone, from what I could see, there were a lot of smiles. So a lot of fun had by all. And I had a community forest special board meeting, and that's it. I guess I had a quiet week, so.
It's nice for a change.
It's nice, yeah, the 2 weeks before were crazy, so, yeah, so that's it for me.
Great. I had a similar, Valemount Days was awesome. It was so great to have the parade back, and I went back and got to see all the floats. They're amazing.
You learn how to ration your candy more.
I do, yeah. I just give it all away right at the beginning. It's kind of in the hallmark of, it's not the first time that's happened. I'm happy to say at the regional district, we sorted out the recycling situation. We've got a short-term solution in there that won't cost too much. You know, I don't have a dollar figure for folks in Valemount about what the tax implication is, but out of all the total requisition that we give to the regional district, it'll be a 0.6% increase, so less than 1% to keep recycling as it is for a full calendar year. Meanwhile, while we look at other options to improve recycling, right? So anyways, it's a good interim solution. We're very supported by our colleagues in the regional district, because if they would have dropped it, it would have been a huge impact for Valemount, a big one. So as always, we really appreciate their support. The regional district, another interesting piece is we're partway through, we're doing having technical agencies give a review of the regional district's updated bylaw and zoning documents, which make it easier for the layperson to get into what you can do in different areas of the regional district. Very interesting. I know it doesn't affect us directly, well, some of us it does. But I think a smart move on their part. Their zoning and OCP documents and maps were old. Some of them were paper. They weren't easy to navigate, and you had to know about what it was you couldn't do on that property to find out what you could do on that property, like you needed to know. So now when you find a particular zoning, it'll tell you everything you need to know on that one page. So anyways, just kind of an interesting side note there. And I think that's, anyways, I just thought I'd mention that. So fun and games at the regional district, as always. Yeah, that's good. That's my report.
Almost to receive.
Yeah, right on, let's do it. Second by Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Received. Okay, so we've got outstanding resolutions. We'll just leave those alone. We haven't scheduled any new business. Calendar of events is there for your review, and public comment. We'll try to keep this under a half hour. 2 minutes each. Now, would anybody like to make public comment? Yeah. If you come in late, you waive your right to be public comment, so. Okay. All right, if there's no public comment, we won't receive that or anything. We'll just move on to adjournment. Yeah. Councillor Salt, Councillor Blanchette, all in favor? Boom, we're out of here.